The following presentation is brought to you by kmmedia.pro. Please visit kmmedia.pro for more information. Now stay right where you are as we present. Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, evolving ideas, one conversation at a time. Great guests, dynamic stories and interviews, plus new thoughts on a wide range of topics and concepts. I hope that you'll hang with me, Kevin McDonald, my friends, and of course, you. As together we work to understand why we are all here and what we can do to make our world a better place for all of us. To be happy, be kind, and live in peace together. Yep, that's Positive Talk Radio. And welcome, everybody, to a Monday morning, and it's Positive Talk Radio, and I'm glad that you're here today. We got a heck of a show for you today, I do have to say. This is one of those shows where somebody's done something that I not only have not done, I can't even believe that she did what she did, because I can't believe that anybody could do what she did. But she did. And and Ben, just out of curiosity, when you were, well, you could still do it. Do you like to climb? Do you like to go into the woods and climb hills and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have 12. I have two 11-year-olds boys, so they're still pretty active. So I like to try to get out there and, do things like that, and also save my knees. So I'm trying to make sure I'm aware of that. Being 45, you got to do that. Start listening to your body.
That would be nice.
Yep.
I wish I'd have taken your advice years ago. But our guest today, and I got to tell you, I asked you prior to the show, have you ever climbed Mount Rainier? Which, of course, from Seattle, we can all see Mount Rainier. It's a beautiful mountain. It's 16,000 feet, and have you ever climbed it?
I personally have not. We've taken the drive up there, and went up to the little lookout area, but not physically done it.
Our guest has climbed that mountain 7 times.
That's unreal.
And she's part of the Mountaineers Club in Seattle. She knows some of the Whitakers, and she knows some of the great people that have a climbing tradition in the Northwest. And she has a climbing tradition all unto herself, because she is the second female to ever climb K2. And if you don't know what K2 is, it's almost double the size of Mount Rainier. It's a killer. It is a very difficult mountain to climb, and she's climbed it. She's written a book about it, and her name is Lisa Thompson, and she is right here. Lisa, how are you?
I'm great, Kevin. Thank you for having me this morning.
Oh, thank you for coming. I thought maybe you'd be on a mountain someplace, but I
was on Rainier yesterday, but I came back for this.
Oh, did you make it to the summit?
No, we just went to 10,000 feet to Camp Muir. So.
Oh, just 10,000. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Oh, just a little 10,000 feet.
Just as a lark for an afternoon. Got nothing better to do. Let's go climb 10,000 feet. Well,
you got to do it while you can in Seattle. Our summers are so short.
That is so true. And now I know you have a company here in Seattle. Did you take some folks from your company up there?
I didn't. No, some of them were up there independently, but yeah, I've been climbing for many years, and about 5 years ago started my own company, Alpine Athletics, through which I coach aspiring mountaineers to climb mountains like Rainier and Everest and all the great mountains all over the world.
So if you would like to climb a mountain and you need some expert advice and somebody to help you learn how to, well, number one, the steps you need to take to get into shape enough to be able to do such a thing, and the regimen that you need to do that, the perfect coach for you would be Lisa. And she's right here in town. So she's right in West Seattle. So now you can call Lisa, and she can help you if you've always looked at that mountain as you go down I-5, going southbound on I-5. If you've always looked at that mountain and said, one of these days on my bucket list is to climb that dang thing, I've got the opportunity of the lifetime for you here. So Lisa, how do they get a hold of you and get a hold of your company?
So you can just online check out alpineathletics.net and get a hold of me through there. I'd love to chat. I give lots of advice to people too, even if you're thinking about climbing a mountain and you're not sure what the right next step would be for you. I love to just talk about mountains and geek out about gear all day. So if you have questions, even if you're not interested in coaching, I'm happy to help guide, provide some advice, just chat about mountains. So yeah, alpineathletics.net.
That's alpineathletics.net. And I highly encourage you to mountain climbing, you might think is a enjoyable thing, and it can be fun, but it also can be extremely dangerous if you don't do it right, and you don't have all the gear that you need, and the advice and the coaching that get you there, and the leadership in your group. All of that plays a role, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. I think so. I climbed Rainier. I attempted Rainier. That was the first big mountain that I climbed. I attempted it in 2008, was not successful. Came back in 2009 and did Summit. And every mountain I've climbed since then, I think it's just, I learned so much every time I'm out there about all of the things that need to come together just perfectly to be successful. And one of the things I realized that first time on Mount Rainier was that this is so much more than just a physical pursuit. There's this really significant piece of success in the mountains that's mental, that's believing you are strong enough to endure. Like you said, Kevin, it's hard. It's not going to be easy and fun every single second. And so a big element of climbing any mountain, I think, in any sort of discipline, whether you're rock climbing or mountaineering, is having the mental strength and capacity to get through those tough moments. So it's really a culmination, I think, of physical, mental, and then what I call tactical, which is understanding the route, knowing the risks, having your gear super dialed, being with a great partner or a great team. All those things have to come together.
You have what I term, and this is a new term, and not a lot of people are using it. But you have what I call authentic grit.
I'm going to start using that. I like it.
What authentic grit is to me is that you recognize that, number one, you're going to be excellent. You're going to be the best that you can be, whatever that looks like for you, but you're going to be the best that you can be. You're not going to give up. You're not going to turn back when you can go on. And you have got a shining example of that because you were on K2. And by the way, K2 is an absolute killer. It kills people every year. And you were on K2 and you had a decision to make at one point. Could you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So K2, a little bit of background. So I'm the second American woman to summit that mountain. I summited in 2018. And it is in Pakistan. It straddles the border between Pakistan and China. It's the second highest mountain in the world, Mount Everest, of course, being the first. And even though K2 is about 800 feet shorter than Mount Everest, they, in my view, are not even in the same league in terms of danger and difficulty and risk. And so I had summited Everest in 2016, and I felt like, I think I just have a little bit more, I can push myself a little bit further in the mountains. And I'm always very careful about the mountains I choose to climb. I'm sort of a nerd about picking a mountain that I feel is going to push me, push my skills, push my capability, but not cross this line where, like you said, you're sort of out beyond your skill or ability. And so though there were some differing opinions about this, I really felt like K2 was the next logical step for me to take in my climbing career. And K2 is unrelentlessly steep from the second you leave base camp. It is much, much more remote than most of the mountains in the Himalaya. So comparing it to Everest, for example, at base camp on Everest, you can get Wi-Fi and there's an ER and, there are commercial helicopters that will fly, up to 26,000 feet and rescue you if you need that. And none of that exists in Pakistan. It's very remote. If you need a rescue, you're relying on the Pakistani army. There's, you're very far away from definitive medical care if you should need it. So it's it's much more challenging logistically, and the weather on K2 is just notoriously fickle. So it's known for these just monster storms that seem to come out of nowhere. And because of the terrain on K2 and its steepness, it's very prone to avalanches, and it's also very prone to rock fall, just to errant rocks that start, hurtling towards you as you're climbing. So it is a very, like you said, Kevin, it's known as a killer mountain. I don't know, the stats sort of vary depending on how you're counting, but it's maybe 10 times more dangerous than Mount Everest. So it was not a hugely popular decision amongst my friends and family in 2018 when I decided that I wanted to attempt this mountain. But there was just this, and maybe it was authentic grit. There was this part of me that believed that I was capable of doing it and believed that it was the right thing for me to do. And getting to the moment you mentioned, Kevin, I legit wanted to quit every day. Like, it was just unbelievably hard. I wasn't sure if I was capable of delivering what that mountain required of me as a climber. And there was a moment on a feature of the mountain called the Black Pyramid, which is about 25,000 feet. And it is sort of a vertical cobble of rock. It's not a smooth rock face, but it's very cobbly black rock. And there's sort of ice and some melting snow. And if I look below me, I can see miles all the way down to base camp. So I'm literally sort of dangling there, in the air, hanging on a rope and relying on that rope and the gear.
By the way, I just want to mention, that sounds just like a hell of a good time. It's like going to a New Year's Eve party or something. It's just, oh man, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Keep going.
And it was incredibly hard. Like you said, it was not a walk in the park anymore. And I questioned why am I doing this? Why am I risking myself in this way? What am I trying to prove? All of those thoughts were going through my head, and I allowed myself to kind of get lost in this fantasy of, I could descend, I could quit right now. I could reverse my direction on this rope. I could be down to base camp, later today. I could fly to Islamabad and sleep in a bed and have an actual shower and sit down and eat a meal in a restaurant next week. I just let all that play out, which was not super healthy in that moment. And then this thought just, came into my brain, or this question of, is this all that you're capable of? And I had to really pause to answer that. And I knew that it wasn't all that I was capable of, that in that moment, I was just scared and I was uncertain and I wasn't sure that I could do it. And I told myself just to put, a sort of hand over hand climbing, just put one hand above the next, move your foot to the next hold. And every time I moved, I just repeated the words, I am strong, to myself over and over, until, all those other doubts and even those fantasies about eating cake in Islamabad, all that was just sort of erased by this, this mantra that I am strong. And that's really what got me through that moment. And for me, that was the crux, or the hardest part of that climb, was getting above that point, the Black Pyramid. And after that, it was still a lot of risk and danger, but it was primarily snow, which is sort of, having grown up or having climbed in the Pacific Northwest for so long, that's kind of my comfort zone. So once I got above that point, I felt much more comfortable and much more confident about my climbing.
Well, your story and first of all, your story is incredible.
Thank you.
And you should be very, very proud of the person that you are and what you can do. But I want to translate that into something that everybody can use.
For sure.
Which is that if you decide you want to do something and you're willing to prepare for it, and you're willing to do all the steps, not to short circuit or try and take the shortcuts, but you're willing, and regardless of what it is, if you want to be a musician that's going to be on stage, if you want to be a stand-up comic, you got to do the work. and you got to be willing to not say no. You got to
Yep.
keep going. And
Yep.
even when you want to say no, you don't say no. That's authentic grit in my world.
Yeah, I thank you for saying that, because I think it is so, so true. And I see this as a coach that, 85% of the people I work with are highly motivated. But I think as climbing has become a little more mainstream, some of the athletes that reach out to me, they watched a movie or they read a book or they watched climbing in the Olympics, and they want to go climb the 7 summits, or they want to climb 515, which is the highest grade anyone's ever climbed, like in 5 years. And that's fantastic. And I love it. But you have to put in the work, right? It does not happen overnight. And I think it's so important to have that huge goal on the horizon and to be very realistic about the intermediate goals that you can sort of chunk out and move through one step at a time to get closer to that goal. And with mountaineering in particular, I say to myself and to athletes I coach that it can either be hard now or it can be hard in the mountain. You can do 50 burpees today, and I guarantee you that that's going to make it easier when you're on the mountain. And so you sort of have this choice, right? And I think it's true if you're learning any craft or any skill. The practice is where I want it to be the hardest, so that you get to that moment on stage, or you get to that, crux of your climb, and you have the confidence and the ability to know that I got this. Like, I did all the work, and here I am living this thing that I've strived for and love, and I'm doing it.
I'll bet you there are lots of people that have been on a mountain that said, damn it, I wish I'd done more burpees. It would have been so much easier than what I'm going through now. But you know what I mean? Because I think everybody, until you've been through it, until like the first time you climbed Mount Rainier, you were not successful.
Right.
And but that gave you the experience and the knowledge to know, okay, this is what it really is going to take.
Yeah. Yep.
And so then you were able to do that and get that done. You've climbed, now I don't know what it's called today. It's a name that I can't pronounce, but it used to be Mount McKinley in Alaska. You've climbed that.
Denali. Yeah. The President Obama actually officially changed the name of that mountain. The highest point in North America, it's in Alaska, is now Denali, which is one of the native names for it. That was really the first really hard mountain that I ever climbed. So it's 20,320 feet. And because of where it's situated geographically, the atmosphere is a little thinner there than other mountains at 20,000 feet. So I don't recall exactly what it feels like, but it feels like you're higher than that, elevation wise. And the other, I'm 5'4" on a good day. I weighed 115 pounds. So I'm not a big person. And the challenge about Denali, which I actually love, I love that this purity still exists on this mountain, is that there are no porters, there are no Sherpa. It's, you and your rope team hauling all of the gear that you need to live on that mountain for 3 weeks.
So your pack, how heavy is your pack when you're going up?
It's the heaviest on the first day. So you get dropped off by a plane on a glacier, and it's relatively flat there. So I didn't have the means to weigh it, but it probably, between the sled that I was pulling and the backpack that I was carrying, probably weighed about 85 pounds.
Now, that's 2/3 of your body
Yeah.
weight or more. And so did some of the guys, were there bigger guys there that said, oh, hey, I'll be manly. I'll take some of your weight.
Well, so I was the only woman on my team, and I was so adamant, I still am adamant about, contributing equally as a team member. So even if they had said, let me carry that for you, I wouldn't have let them, because I just felt like we're all in this together. And I agree with having one another's backs, but, I felt like I was capable of hauling that much weight. I had trained like crazy for that climb, and the weight gets, you're not hauling 85 pounds to the summit. So as you use the food and the fuel, it gets lighter and lighter. But on the first day, it's the heaviest. It's about 85 pounds. Yeah.
And you're actually going back to Nepal this fall again.
Yes. Super excited.
What are you going to climb this time?
So what I'm most excited about climbing this fall is a mountain called Cholatsi, which is about 6,800 meters. And it's along with some other climbing friends, all women, we created a nonprofit called Anything is Possible. And our goal is to raise money for Nepalese women's education. So when we started as a group, we've all climbed in the Himalaya, and we just really love the culture and the people, and felt like we needed to start to give back to that community that we love so much, that we've gotten so much from in terms of growth. And so we started researching and learned that 85% of women over the age of 15 in Nepal have had no education, none, which is just staggering to me to think about, especially when women, are really at the heart of that community and make so many decisions about the family. They participate in, farming. And so we really wanted to impact that in a positive way. So we're raising money, and we're also we are accepting applications of women who have some sort of goal, right? They want to own a tea house, or they want, some more formal education. And so we want to support that for women. The other cool part of this climb is that it's all women, not that we have anything against men at all. But mountaineering is a very male dominated, there's not a lot of diversity in the mountains, which is changing, thankfully. But we really want to prove that we as women can do this. And so we're working with a very, very skilled Sherpani, so female Sherpa. She will take the role of Sirdar, which is the lead Sherpa on our team. Her name is Pasang Lama Akita. And along with her, we're building a group of all women to climb Cholatsi this fall. So you can follow along at anythingispossible.today. Donate, of course, if you feel compelled, but it's really just important to us that we have this sort of group of women supporting each other and other women in Nepal.
It's really so too bad that in our world today that there still is a divide between male and female as far as education goes. Well, as a matter of fact, there's this country that I don't know if you heard about, that they just took away a major right for females that I don't. Can't even imagine. Have you heard of that one? It's like we're going back to the Stone Age. It just drives me. I just don't understand. But I applaud what you're doing, because education is the key to having a better life, and it's a key you can affect generationally. People and families and villages and everybody if you raise the educational standards.
So true.
That is so important. And I know I've talked to a lot of people that have done what you're doing in those areas, and they'll tell me they're happy people, they're wonderful people. They've got a great spirit about them, and they could do so much more if they had just a little bit more.
Yeah. And we really want it to be, I also want to be very careful of not being these Western women who come in and prescribe these Western values to the Nepalese people, which is why it's important to us that, these women tell us what they need. So that's, we're accepting applications from women to say this is what I would love to do, and this is what education would mean to me, so that we're supporting their dreams, as opposed to saying we want to build this sort of little version of the US in Nepal, which is not, right. There's so many, like you said, the values of that community are just, every time I travel to Nepal, I feel a little bit lighter, a little bit I have much more perspective about what's really important. And I think it's so key to preserve those things and just enhance what's already there.
And the concept of with better education within their value structure, within their culture, can only bring good things.
Absolutely true.
Into their own culture. And so it's not like you're the great big white women that are going to come and save everybody. It's you're trying to help them live their lives however they choose to live them a little bit better.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because I think it's a really important distinction.
And congratulations. I think that's awesome. So if someone would like to, now it's probably too late if you want to go climbing this fall. It's probably too late because you're probably not anywhere near in as good a shape. But if somebody was and wanted to join your group, how would they do that?
Yeah, you can check out anythingispossible.today. You'll see the current team there, as well as, if you're interested or feel compelled to support the women of Nepal, you can offer a donation there too.
That would be great. Please
Yeah.
dig into your pocket and help this cause. It really is a really cool cause. And by the way, we're talking with Lisa Thompson. If you want to go to Lisa's website, go to lisaclimbs.com, and that you can find the book there. Buy it from her website. You can get it from Amazon and everybody else, but I think she makes it a little bit more if you buy it from her website. And so do that. And we need to take a break real quick. But if you want to give us a call, if you'd like to talk to, pick the brain of a world, and I'm not kidding here, guys, a world-class climber she knows the Whitakers. She's part of the Mountaineers Club in Seattle. She is one of the premier climbers in the world today, and she's with us for the next half hour or so. If you want to give us a call and talk to her, do that, 425. And she's local. She's in West Seattle, so you can almost shout at her. 425-373-5527 or 888-298-5569. We need to take a quick break, and we will be right back. More with Lisa Thompson and the book Finding Elevation, Fear and Courage on the World's Most Dangerous Mountain. We'll be right back.
Do you believe in the combination of brain work and spirituality? Her grace and sense of humor have made Allison Roberts highly sought after. She's a cognitive behavioral expert with natural intuition. Allison has guided thousands of people all over the world to find their internal power. Visit ALLYSONROBERTS.com for your free guided meditation today.
My name is Kevin McDonald, and I created Positive Talk Radio on KKNW 1150 AM. And if you like what we're doing here, evolving ideas one conversation at a time, we have so much more to offer you on positivetalkradio.net. Over 160 podcasts and growing. Great positive guests and many thoughts and ideas designed to help you and your family live life just a little bit better. You can even contribute to our work by becoming a member and receiving lots of cool stuff. Please check it out. I created PTR because now's the time for positive change, and nothing else matters. Again, visit positivetalkradio.net, and thanks for listening.
When you want to say more than words communicate, you can with flowers. Your custom boutique floral studio in Bothell, Washington is anaturaldesign.com, connecting you to nature through the language of flowers. Where your people are is where our flowers are beautiful. Your success is our goal. Now through New Year's Eve, here's your exclusive bonus for being our appreciated listener. Type in promo code Positive Talk Radio at checkout to receive $20 off your order. Our gift to you for being here with us today. anaturaldesign.com.
Have you ever said, how did I do this again? Want to create your own powerful life? Well, Allison Roberts can help resolve the issues that keep repeating by creating a new outcome. She is one of the top 100 coaches in the world and will help you achieve your dreams. Email her at allison@allisonroberts.com or visit allisonroberts.com and receive a free guided meditation and discover all of her ongoing programs and events. And welcome back, everybody, to Positive Talk Radio. My name is Kevin McDonald. I've been around here for a little while doing the show, and I really got to tell you, I am enjoying talking to Lisa Thompson. Go to lisaclimbs.com, and you can find all about her and her climbing history and what she does. She is one of those people that, Lisa, when I said that you have authentic grit, I wasn't kidding, because that's maybe the highest compliment, because we all strive for that. But when you can do what you've done and climb and written the book, and you're giving back, and you're working with women to make their plight a little bit more even, and you're a shining example of what that can look like. You must go to bed at night and say, boy, I'm proud of myself.
I don't.
No, because you have authentic grit. So it's like, what's next? What's next? What do I do next?
Right. Yeah. I don't, I'm not saying that's a good thing. Because I think there are positive and negative, sort of air quotes, negative sides to every, personality or characteristic that we have. And I'm thankful that, I have the drive to push myself and to keep, sort of striving for the next thing. But sometimes it's really exhausting, and sometimes it's exhausting to the people around me as well. So
now, does your family ever say, now, Lisa, we love you. We care for you. We don't want you to put yourself into these types of situations anymore, because we don't want to have to go airlift you off and take you home and to your last resting place. We want you to live a long time. Do you ever get that from your family?
I do get that from my family. So I grew up in the Midwest, right in the center of Illinois, where there are a lot of cornfields and absolutely zero mountains. And my family is still there. And so though they are incredibly proud of me, they really, just can't wrap their brain around this desire to continually put myself in, what they see, and rightly so, as risky situations. And so that really came to a head, as I said earlier, my decision to climb K2 was not a popular one. And so all of that, their sort of concern for me really came to a head with regard to climbing that mountain. And I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2015, and, had gotten through that battle with cancer, and, sort of just gotten back to like feeling strong and capable again in the mountains. And my father was actually diagnosed, and very quickly, died of lung cancer. I was actually learned of his diagnosis when I was on Mount Everest. And so sort of lots of related stories there. But to get to your point, it was very hard for people around me to understand why I would put myself in such risk by climbing K2 after I had just beat cancer, and after I had just, watched my father lose his battle with cancer. And so it was a really hard time in my life. The climbing coach that I had worked with for many years ended our coaching relationship when I, decided to continue climbing K2, because he felt like I was climbing above my ability. So I felt like I didn't have a lot of support. I didn't have a lot of cheerleaders, a lot of people in my corner. And, I realized that I had to really be true to myself and know that there was just this little spark or feeling or voice inside of me that believed I could do it. And I held on to that and kept pushing forward.
The most important person in the world was in your corner.
Yeah.
That's you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's very true.
And that in every great story that you hear about of somebody that has gone above and beyond, it happened because of themselves. It's not an external force. It's what you can do for yourself and what you feel motivated and driven to do. And that's so important, because at the end of the day, many years from now, as you're lying in your bed on your last day, you want to be able to say, I led my life the way that I want to. Even if it's on a mountain someplace, you still did what you wanted to do in life.
Yeah, I joke with my friends that my favorite song is Frank Sinatra's My Way.
Well, and there's something to be said for that, because, that I had an employer one time who said to me, you're not a very good employee. Because I wanted to be my own man and wanted to do my own thing. So I did. And and you did, and you've done that your whole life, but you've built a great life around it. And congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And so going back to employers, there just sort of tangent on that. I like for a very long time, I had a corporate job, and I felt maybe like you did, Kevin, that this just wasn't like, I wasn't living. I'm not prescribing people quit their corporate jobs. But for me, it was just not the right environment for me to really be myself. And I felt very stifled in that environment. And so I'm so grateful now that I get to hang out with cool people like you every day. I get to talk about mountains every day. I get to help people, achieve their goals in the mountains. And it was a dangerous sort of leap to go from that, corporate gig to relying on myself completely. But I have so much less stress in my life, so much more satisfied, and, feel this sense of accomplishment that I never felt in a corporate world.
And you know why that is? It's because you're following your God-given path.
Yeah.
That is what the universe has wanted you to do, and you're following that. And so from internally, from yourself and from your higher self, as well as your guides, you're following what you were designed to do. Yeah. And I'm a big advocate of we all should be following what we are designed to do, and not to settle for. I was in corporate America for a long time. I sold dead chicken for a long time. I was a national chicken salesman. I could walk into a vice president's office and sit down. I played golf, with these guys a lot and all that kind of stuff. But it did not cause my soul to be happy.
Yeah.
Whereas today, talking with you here at 9:00 on Saturday or on Monday morning makes my soul happy.
Yeah, same.
But that's why I do what I do and stuff. And so I advocate that everybody do that, because you can only sell so much dead chicken. I'm sorry.
And I think when I look back, I think that there were lots of signs, that I was not on the right path by sticking in this corporate environment. And I think for a long time I ignored them, and I kept sort of like tunnel vision that, I need to keep working harder and get promoted and make more money and do all the things. And I really think, today I'm grateful for cancer, because it's one of the things that I feel like was just a big sort of, bonk on the head. Like, you need to wake up, girl, and look at how you're prioritizing your life, who you're surrounding yourself with, how you're spending your time and resources. And in the moment when I was, diagnosed and going through treatment, I did not feel this way, but having the perspective of several years, now I can say that, cancer helped me get some of that perspective and put things in a more reasonable order for me.
What's interesting about that is that I would like to think that we're all smart enough to be able to figure that out without having the universe step in and create,
I wasn't.
and to create experiences for us that lead us down the right path. It's like, okay, well, there are some negatives here, but at the end of the day, when we get done with the 50,000 foot view, which is like you get when you are on Mount Everest and you get the 50,000 foot view, you really do get the 50,000 foot view, because you can see all the way down on a good day, and you can see what everybody's doing, and you have an idea of what's happening around you, rather than being stuck in the trees where you see one tree ahead of you and one tree behind you. So that's really important that you have that 50,000 foot view, because now you have a design, and your guides and the people around you are making that happen for you, and it's continuing to happen for you. So it's and sometimes you have to have a negative experience in order to make those changes to make you happy.
You do. Yeah, you do. And I always say mountains teach me things. I think it's one of the reasons that I just keep going back and back and back. And that was very true for me. In 2015, I attempted a mountain in Nepal called Manaslu. And it was to be my first 8,000 meter peak. And so there are only 14 mountains in the world that are higher than 8,000 meters. And so it's a really big deal to be ready to climb one of them. And
For those among us that may not be into meters, that's
so
slightly over 24,000 feet.
Yeah, close to 26,000 feet. Yeah.
Whoops, there goes my math. So 26. So it's 10. So look at Mount Rainier as you're driving down I-5, and add 10,000 feet
At
to that.
12,000 feet. Yeah.
12,000 feet. 12,000 feet. And so it's almost double the size of Mount Rainier.
Yeah, it is, which is hard to imagine. You know, when we see Rainier driving down I-90, it's just this behemoth, and it's still 90 miles away from us. So it's hard to imagine things bigger than that. But yeah, there's only 14 mountains in the world that rise above 8,000 meters. And it was, really big deal for me. This was in 2015 to be ready to climb one of them. And I selected sort of one of the easier 8,000 meter peaks. And I was diagnosed with cancer just before that climb. And was very fortunate that it was caught early, and I had a bilateral mastectomy, and I, going back to being stubborn, I still 8 months later chose to climb. And I wasn't 100%, but I had my doctor's support. I sort of, they sort of said, like, I don't have a reference. None of my cohorts have a reference to know if you should go climb this mountain so soon after, having a mastectomy, but here's my cell phone. And I didn't summit that mountain. There was an avalanche, or there was risk of avalanche above 24,000 feet. And this is one of the reasons I just believe firmly that mountains, and I think nature really teaches us things, because I was disappointed, of course. But once I got home and sort of thought about it, I realized that what I learned from that mountain, from climbing, as much as I did of it, was probably more important than standing on the summit, because I knew it just solidified for me. And, sort of having the perspective of looking back at cancer, I just really realized that life is fragile, and that it's up to each of us to define the lives that we will lead. Nobody else should do that or gets to do that for us. And, that really sort of charted the course for the rest of my life. Having, had that realization, it allowed me to put a lot of things in perspective.
Thank you for sharing that. That's a big deal, because a lot of us are scared to make that decision to go do that. We want to. We truly want to, but we're frightened that we can't make a living. There's all sorts of reasons why we can't do it. But you are a shining example of somebody that said, okay, well, I can do it because I have authentic grit. That's my favorite word for today.
Thank you. Well, I was still scared. I mean, I'm still scared every day.
Of course you are.
Fear is, there's so many analogies with fear being in the mountains. And I think a little of it is a good thing. I think a little of it kind of keeps you on your toes and moving. And in the mountains, it keeps me aware of the environment and what's changing around me. But too much of it, just like you said, can be stifling, right? It sort of keeps you stuck in the position that you're in. And I think it's just, for me, it's been so important to look out and see what my goal is. And some days it's like, I'm just going to take this one tiny step to get there. I'm going to make one phone call today. I'm going to post something on Instagram, because maybe that, gets a little more interest in my book or my company. Other days I feel like I accomplish a lot, but I think it's just important to always put one foot in front of the other and keep moving towards that goal.
That's the only way to be. That's the only way to, and quite frankly, it's the only way to be successful, because every successful person that I've known failed miserably many times, and before they became an overnight success. My favorite is the Beatles were a traveling band for 8 years, and then suddenly they were an overnight success.
Yep.
I want to make sure that everybody knows this is Lisa Thompson that we're talking to. She's a world-renowned mountain climber. She go to lisaclimbs.com and get the book Finding Elevation. It's about fear and courage in the world's most dangerous mountain, which is her climb on K2. She's got a company here in town, which is called
Alpine Athletics.
If you want to go, exchange some information about equipment, about style, about fitness and nutrition and all of that stuff. She's there for you. And you also coach people, don't you?
Yeah, so I coach people through alpine athletics, and I focus my coaching really on three areas. There's obviously a very big physical component to climbing any mountain. There's this mental component, which we talked about a little bit, and then there's the tactical side, which is just making sure that you understand the route and the risks, and your gear is very dialed. And I think one of the things that makes me unique as a mountaineering coach is that I focus on all those things. I want people to be very, very holistically prepared when they step foot on a mountain. And I've climbed most of the mountains that I coach people to summit. And so I've literally been there and know what it's like we were saying, to haul 85 pounds on Denali, or I know, what it's like to walk up horrible scree on Aconcagua. So I think it's very important to be focused in each of those three areas so that you're really prepared before your climb.
Has anybody ever come into your facility and said, I want to climb a mountain? And then you said, okay, this is how you start. And then they got to do this. And then they go, perhaps, maybe, no, I don't think so. Have you ever had somebody turn around and walk out the door and say, geez, I can't believe all that stuff?
Most people, I have had a few people, and it's happening more frequently now because climbing is becoming more popular. I've had a few people who, they're just like, they're interested in it, right? They heard about it or watched a movie and they want to start doing it. And so it's actually really cool to me to like work with someone who's just has that like endless curiosity about something, and is, like you said, Kevin, also willing to do the work, right? You have to, I think, pair those two things together to really be successful.
Yeah, most of the when you start talking about the W word, a lot of people are I don't want to work that hard,
right?
But the rewards can clearly outpace the cost of doing something like that, because when you're standing at 26 now, when you're at 26,000 feet, do you have to wear oxygen?
Yeah, so 26,000 feet is about the point where people start to breathe bottled oxygen. And there are many, many alpinists who choose not to, and that's great for them. I happen to love oxygen, and so I want as much of it as I can possibly get. I can't imagine. There was a point on Mount Everest, if we have time for another quick story, where I actually ran out of oxygen. So an area called the Yellow Band, and it's, this rock feature, it's maybe 30-degree rock, and at sea level, it would be fun. But I realized that I was moving so slowly, and it took me a long time, and actually help from someone else, to realize that the reason I was just so sluggish and my brain wasn't processing was that I had run out of oxygen. And so I have a choice, right? I have to get up this rock feature, and I could either turn around and descend and go back to camp. I could have sat there and waited and, asked someone to bring me a bottle of oxygen, or I could have kept going. And I chose to keep going. It was one of the hardest moments, I think, in the mountains I had until that point, of climbing at 25,000 feet without oxygen. And I remember saying to myself to focus on the climber ahead of me, and he was wearing a red down suit, and never let him out of my sight. Like, no matter what it took, not let him out of my sight. And I made it up that rock band, and my climbing partner, Purba, gave me some oxygen, and just that feeling of like the world, like it's hard to explain how your vision narrows, your brain is sluggish. All of a sudden, all of that came back. And so that sort of solidified for me that I have no desire to climb without oxygen. It's great, the people who do. But yeah, 26,000 feet is about the point where you start to wear it.
Well, when you get to a point where your brain starts to not function correctly because you don't have enough oxygen, that's when I would draw the line, because that's dangerous. That's how people get hurt.
It is dangerous. And, especially in that scenario where I had been breathing oxygen until that point. So my body was only acclimatized. It was only used to breathing oxygen at about 21,000 feet. And so all of a sudden I'm at 25,000 feet without enough oxygen. Those alpinists who intend to climb without it do a very thorough job of acclimatizing. So their body slowly gets used to having less and less oxygen, but it becomes very dangerous for someone who's not acclimatized to a higher elevation to suddenly be without it.
Boy, I got to tell you, you are a phenomenal person. And thank you for coming here and talking to us today.
It's my pleasure, Kevin. Thank you.
But before we go, I would like to give you the opportunity to tell our audience, those that are listening today, and then this will turn into a podcast that will be on KK, which will be on positivetalkradio.net for the rest of time. But if there's anything that you would like to tell us now, please.
I think, one of the important things I've learned in my life, and I'm sure there will be more to come. I hope there are more things to learn to come. But one of the things that's been a tenet for me is to not let anyone else define what I'm capable of. I think there were points in my life where I didn't have a strong enough voice, or I wasn't courageous enough, and I let other people tell me that I couldn't do something or I shouldn't do something. And it wasn't until maybe 10 years ago that I realized that nobody else gets to define what I'm capable of. That's up to me. And it's up to me to define how I'm going to do that in this world. And so if there was one takeaway for listeners, I think that's an important one.
I couldn't agree more, because it is the biggest decisions that you make in life come from within.
Yeah.
And it isn't mom and dad. Mom and dad may want to protect you from yourself. Or your friends and family may think you're nuts, but if you believe in something wholeheartedly and you're getting the signal from inside of yourself that this is what will make you happy and this is what you should do, then by all means pursue it to the best of your ability, and not to give up.
Absolutely. So
especially true. And you see, yours is a perfect example, because I can think of a billion reasons why, including the cake, the bed, the eggs Benedict in the morning, the coffee, sitting by I can think of a million reasons to turn around.
Yeah.
I can only think of one reason to keep going.
Right.
Because you're not going to give up.
Yep. Because I'm capable of more. That's right.
And, unfortunately I had a similar experience. When I was in high school, I was a wrestler, and I was facing the repeat state champion in that weight class, and I wasn't even on the team. I just came because they needed somebody to fill out that, and I'd wrestled the year before, and so there was a great big cheer for this guy when I ran out and did the match, and he beat the crap out of me. He literally, but I won on points because I wouldn't give up. And at the end of the match, when we were both exhausted, and I somehow found the energy to break free from him and to get away, which gave me the point to win. And
gosh,
that was, for me, that's what it was like to have an experience of something that was above myself. I had no idea I could do that.
Yeah. What a great story. That says a lot about your character, Kevin, and your willingness to just keep going no matter what.
That's why I created Authentic Grit.
I was going to say, I think maybe you have some authentic grit there.
I does, because I'm not giving this up. I'm not. I do this on the podcast. I do this, and I do this because I love it. I love talking to. I love bringing people like you to others that I can put you up and show you as an example. This is what it can be like. Mm-hmm. This is the life that you can have. Is it all cupcakes and rainbows? No, you've survived cancer. Your dad passed away. You've had some tough moments in time, but you're still here.
Yeah.
And you're not going to give up.
Right.
And you're going and you're helping people, and you're doing all the good things. And so, will you come back and talk to us some more?
I would love to. Yeah, maybe right after I get back from Nepal in November, we can talk about that climb. I'd be happy to.
I would love to have you on and talk about how you did and how the ladies did, and some of the and how the folks that you help in the village.
That'd be super cool. I'd love that.
Yeah, I would love to have you come and do that because you're phenomenal and you're local and there are like Lou Whitaker and his brother
Jim Whitaker, yeah.
Jim, they were climbing legends around.
They certainly are. Yeah, on the first team to summit Mount Everest, first American team. Yeah, really cool. There's just such cool climbing culture in Seattle.
And are they still with us?
Yes. Yeah.
Good. I didn't know.
Yeah.
So if you go to the Mountaineers Club, I used to be. At one time I was a building services manager there for about a minute and a half.
Oh, cool.
Yes, but so go talk to them, and they've got lots of literature there, and there's all kinds of stuff.
Great climbs, yeah, and it's great. It's a great organization that if you're curious about climbing, you can join and sort of matriculate through their climbs and their courses. It's a great way to learn.
Absolutely. By the way, again, we've been talking with Lisa Thompson. Go to lisaclimbs.com and get the book, Finding Elevation. It's a great read. You'll enjoy it and find out all about her. Donate to her cause. If you've got the means, please do that. And I'd like to thank everybody for being here. We're going to be back Wednesday afternoon at 4 o'clock. And I hope that, by the way, take care of each other because, each other's all we got. We'll see you Wednesday at 4.